And what is your plan for tomorrow? I mean, are you going to take back the power, and are you going to take back your financial power? That's what we're talking about. We're talking about cryptocurrencies. This is the people of the money. Sorry, the money of the people, by the people, for the people. And Doug, let's get back into what you were talking about with these meetups and stuff that you're having. When the class, how are you going to structure this in order to teach people about how to trade and how to set up wallets and the whole thing?
Our approach is really at the basic level, starting at the basics, because that's what I get from the people that I talk to. A lot of these definitions they've never heard before, and so we can tend to take for granted when we explain Bitcoin to people. And I think it's important to reach new people, which is why we're here today too, is reach new people and talk about some of those basic definitions, like decentralization and peer-to-peer, things that have only heard these buzzwords. And so I break down different terminologies and define things as basic as possible to just give that, to kind of build that bridge between that knowledge gap.
Well, let's talk about buzzwords.
Yeah.
Peer-to-peer. What does peer-to-peer mean in digital money?
Peer-to-peer means that there are only two parties, and that is you as the sender and the receiver. And so how that contrasts to what we're currently used to in using our credit cards is there's multiple parties involved in a credit card transaction, which is, we wonder why credit cards get hacked and why we have so many issues in the banking system and fraud and stolen identities and all these things, is because every time you swipe your credit card, you're basically giving away your login and password to your money, to your account, to all, I believe there's 7 parties involved
there's 7 parties involved in every
from the time it starts with your card, the merchant processor, the Visa on your end.
So that's a lot of points.
The bank on your end. Yes, exactly. And so Bitcoin is 2 parties only, as opposed to relying on a middleman or a middle party that's going to facilitate our transaction for you. So the best example to illustrate and compare is if I hand over a $20 bill from me to you, if I pay for my food, whatever, in cash, that's a peer-to-peer transaction. So that's peer-to-peer. And so there's no other parties. So Bitcoin is the brilliant invention of Bitcoin, is that they found a way to do that in a digital form that had never been discovered before. It had been attempted. It's kind of the holy grail of some of the cypherpunks from the 90s. But
you'll hear the term.
You'll hear these terms, yeah. This holy grail of the internet, because we all know if you have an MP3, you can make 1,000 copies. So one of the questions, if you have a Bitcoin, how is it that you don't just make 1 million copies? And so the brilliant invention was that you can now hand over uncounterfeitable digital, that's why we use the term digital cash, digital currencies.
Right. And so, break it down further about, the peer-to-peer aspect of this. Like when you're doing credit card transactions online, the things that you're opening yourself up to, when you're sending a transaction, basically you're asking the bank permission. Like, yo, man, will you send some of my money over here, please?
Yes.
And in doing that, they've opened up all of your identity. And this is what opens you up to identity theft on the internet.
So all of these fees that we pay for the privilege to spend our own money, we're not even getting our money's worth, because when we're paying whatever these fees are to use our banking cards and our ATMs and all these different things, we're paying, and then and in turn, we're getting our identity stolen. We're getting, fraud is happening. And so Bitcoin really has the potential to eliminate all of that.
Yeah, exactly. So if I go to a website, Amazon or whatever, or cheapair.com, if I bought my plane tickets from Cheap Air to fly out here to Phoenix, and I just send my payment. I use Dash actually to send the payment, and it's a final complete payment right there. There was no permission. They didn't ask for any of my information, so I don't have to worry about some third party hacking their site and getting my bank numbers or anything like that and opening myself up. So,
well, in addition to the potential for fraud and hacking, is that ugly side that once they've got control of our money system, they can come in and tell us what we can and can't spend our money on. And that's the ugly side. And this is what Bitcoin enables, the freedom of choice.
Mm-hmm. Actually, there's a company here in Arizona that's working on something. So digital currencies are for the unbanked, right? What is the biggest unbanked legal entity that you can think of in Arizona, maybe California, Colorado?
Well, I would argue that the big Bitcoin is for the banked and the unbanked. But yes, the marijuana industry is certainly
Exactly.
one
They're having trouble. They're pretty much a cash only business
Mhm.
because banks don't want to do business with them because of federal regulations. So there's a company here in town that's actually working on a solution to that. They're called Alt 36.
Okay.
And what this is going to be a digital payment kiosk system that will go inside of the dispensary. So where you can go, you can put your money in there and get reward system, get a reward, get your weed cheaper through using digital currency. And it's a kiosk. You just buy, you point and click at what you want, and then you go over to the bud tender guy there and he'll give you what you want. But it just allows people to transact outside of the banking system. So
on our own terms.
on your own terms, definitely.
Right.
So anyway, that they're working on getting that going, and that'll be a great thing for the banking industry, or excuse me, for the cannabis industry and for digital currency as well.
The number of things that this can enable is, I mean, just really the potential. And that's why you see probably a lot of you, if you have heard the word Bitcoin, maybe heard it through a friend, a lot of you have that kind of that psychotic friend that won't shut up about it, right? I've been that guy to my friends, and
Yeah, I know. You're like that on the way over here. No, I'm kidding.
So I think it's really what we want to do is make sure that we're putting ourselves out there to make Arizona a Bitcoin friendly state, Phoenix a Bitcoin friendly city. We want to help.
Arizona's already pretty free. I know. I've noticed a lot of people walking around. I'm from Texas, and it's supposed to be like all pro guns and everything. And here you are. You're just walking around with a gun on your hip. Like, I mean, I'm from Austin. The liberals would just like attack me in the streets if I had a gun on my hip. There.
Yeah, you said, are we allowed last night? You said, are we allowed to go in the store? Do we just walk in the store like that?
Yeah. We went into a convenience store last night wearing a gun. I'm like, oh no! And there's even a cop in there. Yeah. So.
I would say I'd probably venture to say that he was the more dangerous of the two of us.
Well, I don't know about that. You were carrying a bag of Bitcoin, so.
Oh yeah,
definitely. Anyway, so
I think we should take it up, and we'd like to open up some callers.
Yeah, okay.
and see.
Sure. If anybody has a question about Bitcoin, go ahead and give us a call at 602-277-KFNX, which is 5369. That's 602-277-5369.
In the presentations that I do, I find that the dialogue that happens after the presentation is the most valuable portion of it, because you can sit at your computer and YouTube and Google things, for hours on end and not really get the answers that you really, in the environment where you can sit in front of someone and get your questions answered in a dialogue,
right,
can be so much more valuable. People come to my presentations, then they learn more in an hour or in a Q&A session than they do or two or 3 days worth of Googling and YouTube.
Yeah. So what all kinds of people are you dealing with when, you get shady people, give me some legitimate uses that you find, because you're dealing in Bitcoin all the time with your ATM. So who's your customer base?
We see, what I love is we see some of the older generations, some of the baby boomers and the others. And that was kind of a surprising demographic that we discovered over time. We've been doing this since 2013. And a lot of them, the stock market's been doing well for, going on a decade now, and some of them are reaching retirement age. And now some of them are sitting on healthy retirements, and they're concerned. They're concerned about the dollar. They're concerned about the stock market. And so they're looking to hedge. They're looking for places to put their money that are going to be safer.
These are investment opportunities for people. Just anyone can get in. You don't have to be approved or whatever, be an approved investor and whatever it is that you need to get into the stock market. This is a much easier way for everybody to get involved. But there are some dangers and pitfalls that you have to worry about, especially with like the markets rising. I think one of the worst things that happens really in this whole thing is the market cycle, where the new people will get all excited because, well, what was it, December, we were at almost $20,000 for one coin. And so everybody was just going crazy and frantic. I had just dozens of people calling me because they, friends from high school or whatever, And they wanted to know about the coins. And so, I'm telling them, but how do we let them know not to get involved at the wrong times?
That's where seeking out a good consultant, someone who's not going to try to snake oil salesman some Bitcoin to you, but actually talk to you and break it down. That's what we do. That's what we pride ourselves on, is consulting with people and giving them the pitfalls.
Well, when we get back, we'll talk about that, and you can give us some more information.